you.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Because you drove from Austin.
I know, but I really wanted to make this happen. And I know that you have a super, super busy life and you have children. You have a whole academy, a business to run. You have students.
Yes.
You have employees. You have a husband. Girl, you have it all.
All of it.
Yes.
All the above.
All the above. So I definitely want to go back because we go way, way, way back. And what I remember from the first conversation we had, you were like, I want to work with you, but I'm going through, you were telling me about your daughter adoption process and all that.
Yes.
So you told me your story about that.
Yeah, that was right before COVID, I believe. And, you know, I started with just lashing from home in 2018, didn't really know what branding was. You know, I remember asking my husband, what should I call my Instagram? And he's like, well, call it something that you're going to be doing. And I said, okay, but I don't know what I'm going to be doing just yet. And finally I was like, you know what, let's just do whatever he says. And he said Glow, and from there I kind of just started Glow by Angela on my Instagram page. And I feel like I didn't get to really focus on building my actual brand because we were going to start the adoption process for my daughter, which lashing financially did help towards that because there's no way I would have ever had the money to hire a lawyer or anything like that. And I remember calling different lawyers and visiting different lawyer offices, and they all said, no, like, you're just wasting your money. You're not going to win this case. And I remember my husband and I just walking disappointed out of all those offices because we really thought we had a chance.
Yeah.
Finally, I think she had wanted to use his last name at school, and the lady in the front office, she was like, you know, I can tell your daughter really loves your husband, like, you know, because she keeps using his last name in class, and, you know, why haven't you legally changed it? And I said, well, we've been trying. And she gave me the phone number to a lawyer that she used like 20 years back. And she said, I don't know if she's still in practice, but you can try. So I found her office, and it was her last year in practice. And she said, let's meet, let's get you in, let's see what we can do for you. So I remember taking my dad to that meeting because my husband, I think he was out of town. He worked in the oil field and all that. And so my dad went with me, and like just to even like get in, I think it was like $4,500. And so I wrote up a check, and she basically told me, you're not going to win this case, but we can try. Like, just telling me straight in my face, I'm wasting my money. And I remember just having faith, like, I don't care, I want to try for her. And so I wrote the check, got in the elevator, and my dad's like, you just lost $4,500, you know that, right? And I said, at least I'm trying. I remember starting the process and everything, and it took, I think, from like 2019 to 2020. I remember because, you know, we were basically the world was shut down for a little bit during COVID, and just sitting in the park watching my kids playing while I'm crying, sitting on the blanket, like just hoping that something would happen, you know, something good would happen. And fast forward, I remember her calling me and saying, finally, we have a court date, but it's going to be via Zoom because we can't go inside the courtroom or anything.
I remember that. Yes. Okay,
So we had the meeting in her office, and we were in front of the judge through like via Zoom. And 5 minutes in, he's like, yeah, no, you case closed. You're not going to get what you're asking for, basically. And I remember my daughter just being so like disappointed because she knew what we were doing. She asked for the adoption process. That's the only reason why we started it. And he told the lawyer, I'm going to give you 2 minutes and go in your, I think he said, like, go in your law book and find a good reason for me to approve this. And so she went and scanned like this big old book. It almost looked like a Bible. And she found somewhere in there, and it said something among like abandonment, child abandonment. So my husband, he had kept all the receipts from when he was paying her daycare when we first started dating. And she said, you know, he's been taking care of her for all these years since this date, and her dad has not paid anything. And so, like, fast forward, the judge was like, all right, I'm gonna grant the adoption, and we're going to put it as child abandonment. Her father allowed another man to raise her who wasn't even married to you at the time, because we were married already by COVID time, and he had the receipts dated from 2014. We didn't get married to 2016. So my husband had been taking care of her before we were even married, and that won the case.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
So once we won that, I just felt so much fire, like I can accomplish anything. Yeah.
So that's where it all started, everything.
Yes.
Because you said, I'm going to come back to you, but I'm going through this right now. And you did. You were like, hey, I'm ready. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's do this.
Yeah, because all my funds were going towards that. Any dollar I got was going towards the lawyer. And I was all in whether we lost it or not. I wanted her to see that we tried to grant her wish.
Yeah. Wow. That's a beautiful story.
I know. And I don't really tell it often because, I don't know. I guess one day when she grows up, I'm like, would you be happy that I put that out there? Or what do you think, you know?
Yeah.
And she's a teen now, so.
Well, it's been a few years. So we met, during COVID time. And that's when the world was just changing a lot and everybody wanted to go online. And that's whenever, like, for me, I was going through some stuff too. And I'm like, is this actually going to work out? And it did. And so that's why I was like, I was so grateful to have like come across you and many other people after you. And I just saw like how fast you were going and everything that you were doing. It was just like one thing after another, one thing after another. I'm like, where is this fire coming from? So I want to go back to that because you said that you were lashing from home.
Yes. So I started lashing from home in 2018 and I was honestly so busy because I was taking clients only on my days off from working at the bank. So I worked at Wells Fargo for 6 years prior to becoming a lash artist. I remember before starting the whole lash journey, I was a full-time banker. So once I started lashing on the side as a side hustle, I was getting so busy that I had to eventually tell my boss, like, hey, I need less hours. Like, I need to be a part-time. So she moved me down to a 30-hour banker where I can have, like, I think it was like 2 days off during the week or something, or just like extra hours, like 10 more hours I could put towards lashing. And so I remember one client, she was trying to like pre-book and I couldn't pre-book her because we would get our schedule like every other week or something like that. And so I told her, I'll get back to you and let you know when my next day off is, and that's when I'll be able to do your fill. And she literally told me, how about I just come back when you decide to take this serious? Oh. And I was like, I am taking this serious. Wow. You know, and that was also kind of like a no-brainer. You can build a clientele. You can do this full time. And so my husband, he was like, no, that's a promised paycheck. You cannot leave the bank. You need to focus on this a little bit and that full time. And I was like, no. So I ended up asking for 20 hours. So now I get to do more hours in lashing. And it was just very frustrating when I would sit there with no customers, no bank accounts to open for anybody, and people texting me, hey, can you get me in today for a full set? I would literally take my lunch break and rush to my suite that I ended up getting, because I ended up getting a suite right down the street from my bank job. I would rush on my lunch break to go and lash them really fast. And my coworkers would cover for me because
nut. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My coworkers, because lunch was only like 30 minutes. So I would purposely, Melanie, if you're watching this, sorry, but I would purposely take my lunch break right before my boss would take her lunch break. So she wouldn't know that I was gone for an hour or so.
Hey, you know what? When there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. So yes, but made it work. And then from there, people started asking to train them and work with me. I never wanted to be someone's boss. I never saw myself in that role. Like, as much as I wanted to grow my business and stuff, I never wanted to be called someone's boss. And funny, because now I have to be a boss. It's really hard. It's not easy. I don't like to feel like I'm above anyone, because I do see myself at the same level. Like, I'm humble when it comes to that. So when people started asking me to train them, like, I would just teach them advanced trainings. I never wanted to teach anyone from scratch, especially if they didn't have their license. Because if you don't have your license, you can't build nothing off of it. You're doing it illegally, you know? So I saw many people getting trained, 3-day course, come learn everything about lashes. And from there, obviously, they really wouldn't learn anything. So then they would find me like, hey, can you teach me more? And I'm like, yeah, but are you licensed? Because if you're not licensed, then it's just a piece of paper. And, you know.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that I think people need to also know or realize when they are getting into any kind of industry, but the lash industry in your case is during their research and making sure that, because I feel like there's a misconception thinking they're going to get licensed, and certification and being licensed is totally different. Different.
Certification is more for if you're already licensed. Hey, let me go. It's like you doing a marketing class, you know. I'm already licensed in the beauty industry. I'm a cosmetologist. Now, I want to learn more about marketing. You're going to give me a certificate at the end of that. You know, that's just saying I took your class.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good because I still give my students certifications when I teach them spray tanning, lash lifts, brow laminations, all that. It's something for them to frame and say, I got advanced training in this. But I can back it up with my license from the state.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So I want to go back to when you were at the container, when you started moving up. Because you were, okay, you had your container and then you went to, that was
I almost got it.
A cool concept.
Yes. I almost got it back. I lost my deposit. I feel like I was trying to hold on to something that I already outgrew. And so I had, like, I think this was like a year and a half ago. I was so excited. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it back. Like, I'm going to get it back. I miss it so much. It was unique. I remember putting the deposit down, and it was going to be in a different unit because mine, they've been in it since I moved out, since I left it so renovated. It hasn't been for lease in a while. So I was going to get another unit and renovate that one. It just didn't make sense. I outgrew that building for sure.
How long were you in there for?
I was there from 2020 to the end of 2021. Okay, so like a year and a half.
I grew it, pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I got it because I was lashing from home. I felt like a little downfall in business. I felt like, okay, what's next? So after my suite in Haltom City, which was down the street from the bank, I ended up moving downtown. And I figured, okay, maybe I want some downtown clients, you know? No, I was late to pick up my kids every day by an hour because of the traffic. So I ended up just kind of leaving that suite alone, paying for the lease until it was over. And during that time, I went back home until I figured out what was next for me. I remember a new client booking me, and I had it on my page that I was home-based temporarily. And this one realtor, I don't even know her name. She was nowhere from near around me. I never had seen her, anything. And I remember lashing one of my loyal clients, and then she was next. And I texted her. I was like, hey, once you get here, you know, let me know, and I'll come out to get you. And she was just like, I didn't know it was at your house. And I said, yeah, I have it on my page that I'm at my house. It's, you know, temporary. I just closed my suite because I'm trying to figure out a new area to be in. And she ended up posting my whole address and everything on social media and put that I was trafficking women. Yeah.
Angela, what?
Yes. So I called the police. I told them what she did, and, you know, for safety reasons, I have children. When you make an accusation like that, you never know how people are going to react to it. So I had people driving around my house watching me. Yeah. So that pushed me to open the container. Yeah. That's how I got there.
That is a wild story. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't even know what to say after that. Should we say thank you or
thank you? Like I said, I was lost. I didn't know what was next for my business.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is that look at you now. and you're doing so amazing. And I remember, well, I got my lashes done at your Container Store, and then that's when you're opening up your line of trays and your products and everything. So tell me about that, because I think a lot of people need to learn more about how to start like a product line or anything, and what that really looks like, and the investment. And I feel like there's a huge misconception when it comes to like, oh, I'm going to sell products and people are just going to come swarming to my website. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. I hate to be the person to tell them like, okay, let's
rethink this.
You have to think of how are you going to market yourself and all the work that it takes, because you have to have a really good social media presence to be really successful. And if you're not on social media, good luck.
Yeah, unless you're out there passing out flyers in person or something. So I started my brand, I think it was towards the middle of 2019, so already like 1 year into lashing. And there were certain brands that I was like very in love with, that I continuously bought and used on my clients. And I remember specifically one time them being out of stock of what I needed. And I was freaking out, like, what do I do? Like, how am I going to lash my clients? Like, this is my income. And so I had my friend Norma, she was like one of the first girls that was working with me, and I had kind of taught her a little bit of lashes too, and luckily she had what I needed. So she was like, you know what, girl, I don't even lash as much as you do, go ahead and use these. And I said, I will repay you or buy you a new stock once they're back in stock. And I just remember I never wanted to feel that again. So I decided to start looking into starting my own brand. And I started small. I started with just testing out tweezers, trying to fall in love with tweezers. Then from there, I started testing out different lash fibers to start eventually, making a lash tray. And then from there, started growing on like the bonder, the sealer, the glues. Glue was the very last thing that I wanted to implement, just because it was a liquid, and it was more of a caution, because people think they can just buy it not knowing how to use it. Just because they got a certification, they're not licensed, and you don't know how to use something that is so strong in fumes, there's a client that's going to complain, and you're not going to know how to tell them how to, I guess, feel better. When I reached out to you, if you can start creating me my mocks and stuff like that, it's because I didn't know how to take pictures of my stuff, and I wanted to get out there, and it did help me get out there because it looked more professional. When I first started the brand, I was just posting pictures of the stuff on my stories, and me and my husband were writing everybody's address and like just manually shipping it out to them, old school. I didn't know anything about Shopify. I think the first website that I used was on Square, because I was booking clients through Square, and they had like a free Squarespace where I can put items and just put everything on there. But I outgrew that too. So eventually I needed something where I didn't have to actually sit there and be messaging clients back and forth. They can just go in and buy it themselves, and it'll print out the label and all that, but it's definitely not something that you just like slap your logo on, because you want to feel proud to use your products. And when I was traveling and teaching, that's exactly what I was giving my students, was my products. I never had to sit there and tell them, maybe use it, or I recommend using this other brand, this is just for practice. No, this is what you're going to use on your clients to secure that retention, or to get this look that you're looking for.
So going back to starting a product line, process of that, the investment, everything behind it. And I always tell people, like, it is a huge investment. Make sure that you know what you want when it comes to branding. Don't go off of what you see other people doing and do you think that's going to work for you. Like, you have to be very unique, and you have to be your own person. Yes, it's great to be inspired by others, but at the end of the day, like, you have to be you, like, to showcase who you are as a brand. And that's the thing, like, it is a big investment. It's not like me trying to be negative, but it's being realistic.
Yeah, because you're not going to get it right the first time. I don't know how many times I invested in testing out different products. I felt like it was a $500 invoice this week, $500 invoice this week, and I wasn't in love with the products. I still had to keep fixing things here and there, and I remember receiving a whole batch that like was so sticky you couldn't even use them. And it was like over $1,000. And one time I had invested, I don't know how much it was, but the whole package got lost and I had to reorder it.
See, that's the thing about shipping too. Like all those little things that you're doing in a business, it adds up. And it's, I know a lot of it's trial and error, you know, just actually just going through it and figuring it out as you go. You did amazing because your brand grew really big. Like I feel like people started to know you. Even people that were in Austin, they're like, "Oh, Glow? Oh yeah, Glow."
Yeah,
well,
like,
Glow.
I remember I did a training out there too.
That was so cool. That was.
You were my model for that one.
I was. That was so neat. That was fun. You know, you were traveling all over. You're going to LA. You're going everywhere pretty much, and training people. So take me to Academy. Like, where did that even like come about?
So honestly, it was not anywhere near my vision board. You know, I did not want an academy. I seen myself doing exactly what I was doing, like lashing, building connections with relationships with my clients, and having the girls in my salon just so happy, taking their own clients, working under their own name, but at Glow. And traveling and teaching so I can see different places I've never seen before. And then eventually one person came to me right when I had already got my instructor's license, because back then you needed an instructor's license to be able to open a school. Because I was traveling and teaching, I wanted that license more for protection. I didn't want someone to end up saying, "Oh, she's teaching without a license," because that's how people are. And so I said, you know what, let me go back and get my instructor's license. I have the time because I was on maternity leave after having my last child during COVID, because she's a COVID baby. And so I remember taking the program like online, a little bit in person. Didn't get licensed right away, took a few months, finally got licensed. And I said, okay, now I can continue teaching around the world again. And so one person came up to me crying, saying she spent like $8,000 at a lash school and didn't learn anything. And from there, the other girls in my salon were like, when are you going to open a school? This is why you need to open a school. You already have the license. And I remember telling them, maybe in 5 years. I don't want to do that now. And I was lashing one of my clients at the time when I answered that. She's a very well-known person because she has a podcast. She's an entrepreneur too. And so she was like, why in 5 years? Why not now? And I just kind of laughed and I was like, because I don't see myself opening a school, you know? And that thought just kind of haunted me for the rest of the night. And there I was at 2:00 in the morning on my computer, how to open a school in Fort Worth. Came across the application process, printed it out, filled it out. And it was a deposit too. I think it was like right under $1,000 to apply, non-refundable, just kind of with faith that you're going to get approved. And I didn't even have my building that I'm in right now yet. I was still in the shipping container. And I remember telling my husband the next day about what I was doing, and he was like, and where are you going to do this? I said, I don't know, I'm going to have to look for a building. And so I didn't eventually find a building, but I wasn't approved for the school yet. So we turned it into our lash store / training academy for when people would fly in and take trainings with me. And then in the front we had because remember we had a women's boutique too. So we had our women's clothes up in the front.
Okay, I don't remember that.
You created my logo for that. It was called Bea Alzina.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yes. Yeah. So
that totally like slipped. You're right, because it was downstairs.
Yes. So we created that as an income for my husband when we were trying to just see if it'll work for him working for me, because that's a whole nother story, but he went through like a tragic event at work, and so I knew he wasn't happy there no more. And I felt like, okay, well, maybe this is the opportunity for him to finally step in and help me. And it was, but obviously we didn't have the income to like pay him or anything like that. Right. So we figured out, okay, let's open a women's boutique. Let's add another income in there to hopefully help keep us afloat, you know? So yeah, I remember receiving an email that the inspector was going to come out and inspect us. And basically I had to have the whole building turned into a school in like a week.
Oh my.
Yeah. So I had to sell all the women's clothes in bulk to some other boutique that came and bought it. We hurried up and ordered all those Amazon recliners that everybody has. Girl, I pulled out my 401k to open my school and just furnish everything to make it look like a school.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And I wasn't even approved yet. This was just more
just
like a
taking
showroom.
A leap of faith, and you're like, okay, it's gonna. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You like manifested
so then,
that like real quick.
Yeah. Inspector comes out, and she was like, I'd love to approve your school, but where's your classroom and where's the lab, the clinic area? And I was like, well, this is it. I'm going to teach up front, and then they're going to work on their clients in the back. And she said, well, the regulations are that you need a wall across separating both. And the building that I'm in, it's open ceiling. Like, it's very high ceiling. There was no way I was going to be able to build a wall. So there I go, calling my landlord. Is next door for lease still? Like, I need 2 buildings instead of 1. Gosh. And sure enough, it was still available for lease. Without not one single student, I went ahead and leased that building. Just, again, took a leap of faith, thinking like, it's going to work. It's going to work one way or another. If it doesn't, at least I tried.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Wow, look at you.
And so then I got approved.
And then that was that.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I know. Open house came. Yeah. So fast.
Quickly. Like, you just was like, this is going to happen for me. This is it. Yeah, because I just remember, like, that was happening. You made your announcement, and then, like, just trying to put it all together, getting the girls together. I mean, that's a whole other...
I had to close my salon, the shipping containers, in order to make this work. I couldn't afford to do both. And I remember that was a really hard conversation to have. And I know some of the girls, they're not with me anymore, but some of the girls did get mad, like, really, you're closing? Like, what do you mean you're closing? And I said, yeah, because I got approved to open a school. I figured those girls were not with me too long, so the ones that were with me more time, they were like, I'm so happy for you, but what? Like, when are you going to reopen again? Where do we go? So everybody kind of had to find their own new home to work out of, and a lot of those girls ended up coming back when I reopened in Haltom City.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess after they saw your vision, they're like, yes, this totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really, like, proud of you, and just seeing your growth is very inspiring, and it's very inspiring to others, I'm sure. Yes. Because you were the first one in Fort Worth to make it happen.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, just past 2 years, it's been very overwhelming. I don't think a lot of people know how hard it is to run these businesses. It's not just like funsies and aesthetic for Instagram. It's really, really hard. I would be lying if I said if it was easy. It doesn't take a toll on my mental health sometimes. But I know that I was placed to be the first one, so I can be the example for the other ones to have that faith too.
And you're a great example of that. Like, you really are. I feel like you show community. You really care about people, and it really shows. Like, it really, really, truly does show. Even just watching your TikToks, it's just like, when I watch it, it just gives me, like, very calming vibes. Like, a very chill place. Yeah. Everything just that you have out there, I love the aesthetics of it. And, you could really tell that you took the time to make it you. Yeah. Make it, what you want it to be, what represents. So I feel like that's very important, to always stay true to yourself and to the brand. I want to know more about, how is that, like, your personal life when it comes to running a business? Because I know that not everybody gets it, until you're actually in it, because it really takes a toll, and you got to know how to manage everything. And not only that, you're not managing just students, you're managing employees and all that. Like, what is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have of you having an academy?
Misconception, I would say, I've heard, like, money hungry, or I've heard she's a hard person to work with, or she's mean. And it's not necessarily that I'm a hard person to work with. I just hold what I built to a high standard. So I would never allow someone to just come in and start changing things up, or think that they can do it their way. There's a certain way that I like things done, because that's what's helped my students become successful. I feel like this has been one of the biggest problems, is me taking a day off and stepping away from the school if I do have someone there helping me. And it's like, why isn't she here? She's supposed to be here. No. I am giving you an opportunity that no one would ever have given you, because that's an opportunity I didn't even get. I wanted to be an educator as soon as I got my cosmetology license, and they told me I had to be in the industry for a year before I could even be considered to be an educator. So being that I'm hiring these people, you know, that don't have education or teaching experience, I'm willing to mentor them. I feel like they allow that relationship that we have outside of business to get in between, and then it's like, wait, why are you taking a day off? Because I need a day off. I need to have a whole day with my husband. I need to have a whole day with my kids. I cannot be up here 24/7, you know?
Well, you did work really hard for it, and you are the boss at the end of the day, and you deserve some time off. And if people would know, like, how much time you put into it, and that's the reason why you hire people, is for you to be able to step away, and they should be okay with that because that's what you're there for. So, unfortunately, sometimes you just got to keep it moving.
Yes. And right now, my only employee is my husband. We're back to just us two, and I've really been liking it, honestly. Good. But getting ready to start hiring again soon because it's been a lot. It's been a lot, and you know, I feel like motherhood starts catching up on me as well because, you know, for example, my son has some play on Tuesday, and I'm like, crap. Did I book too many clients that day? Like, now I'm going to have to start moving my schedule. Like, I want to be able to just show up to everything when it comes to my children. And running a school, I didn't stop to realize, like, I have to be there too, you know, because it's a school, you know? So if I had the employees helping me, then I would be able to just be like, all right, see you on tomorrow, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of talk a little bit about, just to wrap things up, some advice that you would give to other people that are in the lash industry, because I know that it's very competitive. And I know that things are always changing. If you're an entrepreneur, you always have to be on top of whatever is the latest and the greatest, and, you know, get trained, and it's just competitive. And I know that there's, you know, people copy each other, or, you know, there's a lot of that going on. What advice would you give to other people that are in the industry? Because you don't do just lashes, you have an aesthetic school.
So advice that I could give someone that's first starting out would be, don't pay attention to the outside noise. I feel like you can be so easily driven to what's happening around you that you start to feel like, am I doing enough? Am I good enough? And I like to train my students to obviously not only learn my tips and tricks, but I also tell them, if there's something that you figure out along the way that makes it easier, do that. You don't always have to follow what everybody else is doing. Do what works for you, because that's what's going to allow you to stand out.
Yeah.
And especially with it being, you know, a competitive industry, it makes people feel like, maybe I'm wasting my time in this industry. No, there's always, I always tell them, there's a baby girl being born every minute. There's eventually going to be someone that wants to come to you for your services, to build a relationship with you. You're different from everybody else. That's why you were placed in this position that you're in, because you're meant for it. Now, if you don't have a passion for it, don't do it. It's going to feel like, I don't know, it's going to feel like you're just trying to do it just because. You're not going to grow that way.
No. You got to love what you do.
You have to love what you do.
People can see through that, too.
Yes.
People can see through that, for sure. No, that's a
really great advice. And it's going to show in your work, too. If you truly love what you do, you're not rushing to build relationships. Like, you know, I've heard people say, oh, well, I got my lashes done in 30 minutes. Cool. Do you know your lash artist?
Yeah.
Does she build that relationship with you? You know, I'm not saying you can't do lashes in 30 minutes, but it's about building relationships. Absolutely. I prefer to get returning clients, loyal clients, versus new clients all the time.
Yes.
Because I want to build those relationships. I've even gone on trips with my clients that I built.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. That is the greatest thing. It's like, once you have a relationship with someone, you built that, like, you keep it.
Yes.
You know, it's like with you, I always felt like you were always there, that I know that if I was to message you or whatever it is, it's like you would be open to talk, you know?
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate that. And, you know, just the fact that you know, that you're here with me today. I love it. And, you know, if there's anything else that you would want to say to the students or anybody that's looking to apply to the academy, what to look forward to, your next enrollment, what does that look like?
Next enrollment does open March 31st for
Okay.
our Lash program, and for our aesthetics program, it opens on April 7th, which we're starting to try something new. I'm going to try a 10-week hybrid, 10-week in-person, because it's been 20 weeks all in person. And I know when you're trying to build a life and be a mom, be a sister, be a daughter, it can become very overwhelming trying to commit to something. So it almost feels like your goals are unreachable, but there's ways to get there.
Oh, I love that. Like, you just make, because you're a mom, so you
Yes.
know what it's like. So I totally get it. Well, thank you so much, Angela. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right, you guys. Well, that is a wrap, and I will see you next time.